So far away, Lucas, and lovely audience at home, welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends, a series where we scour the lengths and breadths of the internet to find a wiki on a subject we're interested in and see what kind of conversation arises as a result. And today, Lucas, we're talking about the baldest man in comics.
Why don't you float on in and we'll discuss it?
So from that description, Lucas, can you guess who we're talking about today?
I can't think of that many bald characters, so obviously I could joke and say Bane or something, but I'm presuming it's Lex Luthor.
We are talking about Lex Luthor, and the links to the wiki we're referring to can be found below. And the reason I want to talk about Lex Luthor today, Luke, is because over the weekend I finished Kill the Justice League.
No.
Yeah, and I didn't want to talk about Kill the Justice League, so I thought let's talk about a character in Kill the Justice League. Actually, let's talk about two characters in Kill the Justice League, because there's two Lex Luthors.
Well, there's probably more, right?
There's two.
At least two?
You talk to two, one dies, you have Fat Lex Luthor, and then Skinny Lex Luthor comes in.
Wait. Did you say Lex Luthor is dead?
Yeah, mate, kinda.
The fool.
Why did you even play the game?
Because it was free on PlayStation Plus. And you know what? I'll give it a review. For free on PlayStation Plus, it's okay.
Yeah, for getting it included in the price of a subscription, it's not bad, but...
Yeah.
But, oh god, I mean, just for 1 second,
Okay.
I don't know what they did with Lex Luthor specifically, but all I've seen, spoilers for, the last part of the, season update to Kill the Justice League, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, but...
Lucas, when you boot up the game, it plays, the trailer for, Season 8 of, the DLC, which includes spoilers. So, when I first booted up the game, I got spoilers for the end of the story.
So, yeah, spoilers more so than that, even, but just, I heard that they couldn't even, actually commit, and just went, they're all clones, don't worry about it.
Anything's possible with a little help from your friends.
Thought he meant us for a second, but of course he meant bats. Kapow! Bat says,
The criminals.
that's us, did well following his plan. Though how'd we figure out Brady had cloned the League? We were like, there were clones?
Yep, and that's one of the things that gets revealed in the trailer for Season 8 of the DLC. Where it's wait, they just found the Flash and the Flash is okay, he woke up after being cloned. What? So I got spoiled on the game by booting up the game.
It's so funny, because the one thing that people were surprised about was, throughout the entire build-up, it was there's no way they're going to commit to actually killing Justice League. They're not going to be doing it. They're going to be clones or multiverse people or something. Whatever. And then everyone went, oh no, they actually did commit. Good job.
Yep, you kill the Justice League. And Lucas, would you like to hazard a guess at how you kill, for example, the Flash?
Is it that you just shoot him while he stands still?
You shoot him, yeah, you shoot him to death. All right, would you like to hazard a guess at how you kill the Green Lantern?
Is it that you shoot the Green Lantern while he floats still in mid?
Yeah, you shoot the Green Lantern. Would you like to guess how you kill Superman?
Is it maybe that you shoot Superman?
You just shoot him a lot, yeah. Would you like to guess how you kill the final boss, Brainiac?
A game of chess.
No, you beat him the same way you beat the Flash. Literally, because he turns into the Flash. You might think from that description, wait, so does Brainiac turn into every member of the Justice League? No, he only turns into the Flash.
My name's Vril Dox. I'm the fastest man alive.
And after you've beaten him, the end game is, actually there's 13 more Brainiacs and you've got to fight them all the same way. And I went, fuck that, uninstall.
Yeah, because wasn't it not just that Brainiac is the final boss and just copies the Flash? It was that there's, yeah, as you say, 13 different ones, but they all just copy other boss fights.
Yeah, they all just copy the Flash, yeah. And you get mini bosses and stuff like that. And I went, fuck that. But let's talk about Lex Luthor now. So, Alexander Joseph Lex Luthor is a supervillain appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics. The character was created originally by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Lex originally appeared in Action Comics number 23 in 1940. So he's almost as old as Superman, who appeared in, like, obviously Action Comics #1. There's only 23 issues before they introduce his arch nemesis, and he's been his arch nemesis for nigh on 85 years.
It's not a case with Action Comics that, like, I think Batman, correct me in the comments, obviously, but, like, Batman, I believe, wasn't in the original Detective Comics. He was, like, a few episodes in, or, like, a few, not episodes, but...
Issue.
A few issues in, yeah, thank you. I lost my word there, but... Yeah, Superman was just there day one.
Oh yeah, well he's right on the cover, isn't he? Like just dumping that car out. It's like, hell yeah, go Superman. So, Lex Luthor is considered to be the world's greatest criminal mastermind, as endured as an arch enemy of the superhero Superman.
You see, Superman, I own Metropolis. My technology built it, my will keeps it going, and nearly 2/3 of its people work for me whether they know it or not. Even you have to admit it's a model of efficiency.
One of the things I love about Lex Luthor is just, he's so bald, and he's so petty.
I spent $75 million on a fake presidential campaign. All just to tick Superman off.
And it's great.
Well, you say he's so bald, Karl, but, like, obviously we're talking about the comic book iteration here, but in film and media like that, and even, like, I think even in Smallville, like, there's so many times where he starts out not bald.
Yeah, because him being bald is apparently really important to his character. And the thing is, one of the things you've got to do when you're hiring someone to play Lex Luthor is, okay, what do you look like bald? Because if you don't look good bald, you can't play Lex Luthor.
And
right?
we haven't yet seen the new Lex Luthor from the James Gunn universe,
We've
and
seen
I am
him in the
excited
trailer,
for
though.
that.
We've seen him in the trailer, and he's the baldest. Nicholas Hoult has never been balder. And you've heard about this, like, right, Lucas? Like, why hasn't nobody ever been bolder than Nicholas Hoult playing Lex Luthor?
You told me that not only does he have a shaved head, he also has a bald cap on his shaved head.
He's double, but nobody has been bolder than Nicholas Hoult. It is fantastic. From the 1960s to the mid-1980s, Lex Luthor was depicted as a narcissistic, egotistical, mad scientist. Since the mid to late 1980s, however, he has often been portrayed as the power-obsessed CEO of LexCorp.
The information was deleted on her computer. I assume yours has a few more safeguards.
One or two.
And what a timeless change that was, Lucas? The villain is a corrupt CEO who wants to run the world.
Yeah, it's weird recording this in January 2025 where no billionaires have done anything weird or power grabby recently.
No, and there's certainly not one of those billionaires who's really fucking bald, right? He wishes to rid the world of Superman, ostensibly because he views Superman as a threat to humanity, but in reality because he envies Superman's popularity and influence. And that's something that is explored in various bits of media starring Lex Luthor, of the idea of, is it that he's jealous of Superman? Because of his, his gifts are naturally given, he never had to earn them. Whereas, like, Lex Luthor had to struggle and fight for everything that he's got, and Superman is seen as the saviour of humanity, where he's seen as a villain.
We all fall short of his sickening, inhuman perfection. Feel that, Kent. Real muscle. Not the gift of alien biochemistry, the product of hard work.
I appreciate that part of it. I also really like the part where, like, it makes sense to me that Lex Luthor is like, look, Superman's great, but what if Superman wasn't great at some point?
Yeah. It's like, what about if Superman went bad? And it's like, yeah, that is a pretty valid concern to have when Superman is fucking invincible. And that is something that is explored in Kill the Justice League, where throughout the story, the Suicide Squad are like, the fuck are we going to do against Superman? Like, they keep talking about it, like, through all, like, your general chatter of, like, okay, we beat the Flash, but what happens when Superman turns up?
It doesn't matter. It's their world and they won't stand for you anymore. If it isn't me, it'll just be someone else.
Really? Who do they send after you?
Amanda Waller's like, we'll figure it out. We've literally got nobody else. Who else would we send against them? We've got you dipshits. Do something.
We've got a guy with a boomerang and a woman with a baseball bat. We'll be alright.
And here's the thing, Lucas, right? They do manage to power scale the Suicide Squad to a degree. Straight away, King Shark is a demigod. So he's already got he's already super strong, he's bulletproof, fine. Deadshot, world's greatest assassin, sure, he's got, like, give him a super powerful gun, he's alright. Harley Quinn, she steals Batman tech. So she's got Batman tech, Batman can fight Superman, that's fine. Captain Boomerang steals, like, a Speed Force gauntlet. So he can throw his boomerang with Speed Force energy and then instantly teleport to it. Which is really fun. And I played as Captain Boomerang throughout the game. Because Captain Boomerang ended up being my favourite character alongside King Shark. Because I just like the fact that Captain Boomerang is just a dipshit. And all he ever talks about is, I'm going to beat the Flash! And it's like, no you're not. And then he does, and then he goes and pisses on his corpse.
Show a little class, man. Holy shit. Congratulations.
Makes sense. The gods have cursed you in every other way.
And as mentioned, I completed Kill the Justice League over the weekend, so I am wanting to talk about it now. But Lucas, you've not played the game, you are only familiar with it via reputation, and the reputation is not great, correct?
Yeah, so I've pretty much kept up with it through, gaming news podcasts and videos and stuff of just the trash fires that continue to come out into, the wider sphere around that game, but I haven't played it, I haven't really looked much into it. It just really didn't interest me very much, just in kind of concept of killing the Justice League and stuff.
And I was pretty much in the same boat until I noticed it was free on PlayStation Plus as mentioned. But I've got a few things to say about it, one of which is you can see the kernel of a good idea there. I don't like that every character just uses guns, but sure, okay, it's a looter shooter.
Yes.
But I will say it's not a looter shooter because enemies don't drop loot. You only get loot from completing missions, so there's almost no reason to engage in any sort of firefight with the random enemies that spawn around the map. Because they won't drop any loot, and the experience you get from beating them is so inconsequential you will never level up doing that. So it doesn't even work as a looter shooter, because there's no reason to shoot things unless you're specifically on a mission.
I'm a Destiny player, and the last year or so it's been hard enough to convince me to play Destiny, let alone any other looter shooter. So, yeah, I don't know why it went after that market, but it just, again, even as a looter shooter, if I can get over that obstacle, it doesn't seem like it's doing the loot part very well.
It's not doing the loot part very well either, and you might think, well, at least the characters are fun, right? Well, they're well written and well animated. The models for the characters look incredible. The model for Harley Quinn is one of the best models I've seen in a video game. But during Borderlands, Lucas, where you have 3 separate skill trees that you can go down that can really alter the way your character plays.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and the fact that Borderlands 3 kind of lent into trying to mix and match 2 different skill trees, and that was oh, that's the way that you customize it even further in Borderlands 3, is you're mixing a couple of trees together.
And the characters in Kill the Justice League do have 3 skill trees. For example, Captain Boomerang, who I played most of the game as, has 3 different skill trees. One revolving around his boomerang, quite fittingly. Another revolving around using shotguns. Another one revolving around using sniper rifles, so shooting enemies from afar. And you might think the way you do that is every time you level up, you get to pick a point in one of those trees. But Kill the Justice League does something very different. And every time you level up, you earn 1 point in one tree, and then you earn it in the next one. So you can only level up each tree 1 point at a time, and there's no way to just min-max straight into one tree. And I can just see Lucas going, what?
Yeah, I don't get that, and I don't get the concept of the general idea of making a game and sitting it down and going, we need to make 3 skill trees for a guy called Captain Boomerang, and only one of them revolves around a boomerang.
And you can only level them up 1 point at a time, and 50% of the skill tree is just one thing that you unlock, so you don't even have a choice. And the rest of them are one of 2 choices. And the 2 choices generally go between do more damage, earn more combo, and combo is how you get the higher damage and unlock things later down the tier. And every single character you play as has the exact same skill tree and largely has the same buffs and effects. It's just that their buffs and effects are for the weapon they happen to be able to use. And imagine seeing a decade of Borderlands games, seeing how fun and interesting those builds are, and thinking, let's not do that. Because I was looking at some of the later stuff I'd unlocked for Captain Boomerang, his boomerang, just man, if you get to a level 50 combo, you can just throw your boomerang and kill 40 enemies, that sounds rad. And the only way to unlock that is to get into absolute max level, because that's the last skill tree, so I'd have to level him up 50 fucking times to get the last end, the last part of his skill tree. It's who thought of this?
Yeah, that's the thing, is the problem is the concept of going down the avenue of looter shooter in the first place, which means that they be able to make a lot of loot, need to be all using the same type of weaponry, and the power fantasy of Suicide Squad or a DC game or a Marvel game or a comic book game or whatever is to be able to like play as multiple characters, all with wildly different movesets and move pools and abilities.
And every character is functionally identical. They all have their movement abilities, which again are basically the exact same thing. Like King Shark's is the most fun because he just does like a big jump, but his big jump basically has the same arc as Captain Boomerang's boomerang throw. And just no character feels like they've got any sort of identity. And the fact that each time you go down a skill tree, you can't min-max into one. So I can't be just all in on my boomerang with Captain Boomerang. I have to have the shotgun tree unlocked as well, even though I didn't use shotguns a single time throughout the game. Because I'm playing as Captain fucking Boomerang. And Lucas, that is one of just many, many issues I had with the game. And as someone who played through it from start to finish, I'd recommend it if people can get it for, as I did, for free. I feel really bad for those people who paid £100 for the special edition, which just, they're not getting fuck all for it, because not only did that shit go on sale like 2 months after release, like the 3 years of planned DLC they announced or teased ended with 1 year.
Yeah, I can totally understand, like, looking at the books going, no one's playing this game, let's not support it for 3 years, but it feels real bad as if anyone bought that game full price, as you said.
And it really does suck for people who like that game, and for myself who'd wanted to see the story completed, because there's a bunch of stuff that's been data mined, like a bunch of Kevin Conroy lines, like the final things he ever recorded as Batman, that'll likely never see the light of day, because they were going to be used for cutscenes that are now never going to get made, because they ended support for the game after a year. There's also a bunch of characters that were going to be in it, and I would have really loved to see how they would have handled some of those characters. For example, one was going to be the character Katana, and considering how badly they adapted Captain Boomerang, I'd have been curious how they adapted a character called Katana and just only gave her guns.
This is Katana. She's got my back. She can cut all you in half with one sword stroke, just like mowing the lawn. I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
I mean, we can talk all day about how inherently flawed the ideas of Suicide Squad are, but Karl, tell me more about Lex Luthor.
You're right, Lucas, fuck that game. So, Lex Luthor has been played in live action by many actors. They include Scott James Wells, Sherman Howard, John Shear, Michael Rosenbaum, so he's the one from Smallville, and for a while, he was always Lex Luthor to me, like in live action, because, again, he was so bald. He was so smooth as Lex Luthor.
I tried to be your friend, Lex. But all you care about is power and control.
This is Smallville! Meteor freaks, alien ships, cryptic symbols. These threats are real.
How bad Jesse Eisenberg's, like, not necessarily down to them, but, just that character in general, like, I've seen them act well in other things. I've got to assume it wasn't their fault that the Lex was that bad.
Well, that's the thing. I've only just mentioned the Lexes we've had on television. So the movie Lexes have a decidedly less stellar pedigree. So the people who played Lex in movies include Lyle Talbot, Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey, and Jesse Eisenberg. And in regards to Jesse Eisenberg's performance, ever since someone told me while they were watching it with me, of like, do you think he auditioned to play the Riddler and just no one told him? I've not been able to want to see that.
Fight.
He doesn't act like Lex, and one part that I think annoys me is, like, as I mentioned earlier, I like the aspect of Lex that he's just scared that Superman could do something wrong, and a lot of that is taken away because that's kind of Batman's gimmick in Batman vs Superman, right?
So Lex Luthor doesn't really have anything to do. Like, they do try and play him as like this puppet master who engineers the fight between Batman and Superman, but he doesn't play an active enough role. And then in animation, the one voice I'm going to single out is that of Clancy Brown, because Clancy Brown is Lex Luthor in animation, and Michael Rosenbaum is Lex Luthor in live action. Because Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor is so fucking good in all those like animated shows, and one of my favourite jokes is about Lex Luthor being bald, where Amazo, like the cyborg, is coming back to Earth after being in space for like a couple of years to beat the shit out of Lex Luthor. Like, well, the entire Justice League's going to try and stop him, but Amazo's pretty strong. So, Luthor, do you have somewhere you can hide? Because we know that you've got some secret underground shit you can go hide in. And he's like, yeah, follow me. And he goes to a barber shop, and just the guy who's with him goes, you know what, Lex? This is the last place anyone expects to find you. And he hides like his panic room underneath the barber shop.
A barber shop?
Gotta hand it to you, Luthor. Nobody would think to look for you here.
If you're that bald, does that mean that like you're in the barbershop 24/7, or does that mean you're never in the barbershop?
It's just so funny. It's just like, it's such a great line of like, admittedly, Lex, this is the last place I think to look for you.
So, after you get your nose hairs trimmed, then what?
Just watch.
And I love when people take the piss out of Lex Luthor, because he just has to sit there and take it, because he's such a petty shit that he'll listen to the insult because he's calculating a better one.
Kryptonite. Thinks of everything, doesn't he?
It wouldn't surprise me, as rich as Lex Luthor is, that he goes to a barbershop to get that clean shave like, every single day of his life.
To have like the smoothest possible
to
head,
stay so smooth.
To stay perfect, because he is perfect. Like, he's an egomaniac. And we move on now, Lucas, to powers and abilities of Lex Luthor. So Lex Luthor has the physical capabilities of a normal adult human with no meta-human capabilities. However, for virtually his entire publication history, which makes him quite unique in the sense that for 85 years, his power set of his super intelligence has been consistent. Even like, the person he's fighting, Superman, his power set has varied wildly over the years. Like to the point where like the Silver Age, he was sneezing out galaxies to like the more grounded, if like, for lack of a better term, interpretations with like the New 52 reboot. Whereas Lex Luthor is always portrayed as the smartest man in the world.
Next to Superman, even Lex Luthor's greatness is overshadowed.
And then obviously he gets a lot of power-ups through technology that he then uses because of his super intelligence and stuff. Like a lot of the modern interpretations have him in those big hulking mech suit things, right?
Which is its own section. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, though, Lucas, Lex Luthor, generally, in most incarnations, possesses an eidetic memory and has mastered seemingly every known form of science, including, but not limited to, space travel, extra-dimensional travel, biochemistry, robotics, nanotechnology, computer engineering, synthetic polymers, communication technologies, genetic mutation, holography, energy generation, spectral analysis, and time travel. Which is a lot, right?
What?
You gonna wash your hands?
No, 'cause I'm evil.
He's a busy, busy man, with the exception of the extraterrestrial entity known as Brainiac and occasionally Batman. When a writer wants to really stroke Batman's shaft, Luthor does not view any other being as his intellectual peer. His exceptional intellectual gifts act as his superpower, allowing him to craft advanced weapons and equipment, outthink opponents much stronger and more powerful than himself.
And I think, obviously, we joke a lot about Batman and everyone writing Batman to just be the best of the best, but
yeah.
Like, you've got two characters there where their power is their intelligence, like their knowledge base and stuff. Just both Brainiac and Lex Luthor, their main power is just pure intelligence. And then Batman's like, I've got everything, but also I'm as smart as you guys sometimes.
Yeah. No, I don't like it when they write Batman to be as smart as Lex Luthor, because that's Lex Luthor's thing.
Must I remind you of my superiority?
And you mentioned previously, Lucas, that Lex Luthor does build like battle suits, which is mentioned here. So over the years, Luthor's created, either on his own using alien technology he acquires, or with the resources of LexCorp and the military, many highly advanced weapons, machines and robots to carry out his plans and or destroy his enemies. He has made liberal use of kryptonite weapons capable of injuring Superman and other Kryptonians, and often creates synthetic kryptonite, which is not as lethal as regular kryptonite, but is still capable of weakening a Kryptonian. He has also, since the Bronze Age of comic books, utilised various high-tech war suits. And they're the things that used to beat the fuck out of Superman.
Mr. President, are you all right? Mr. President! I'm perfectly fine.
A lot of people give Batman the credit for being cool as fuck in The Dark Knight Returns, which he is. But Lex has made an entire career out of building suits to punch Superman.
Yeah, like, he builds a suit to fight one man, and it's Superman, and he hates him so fucking much. And the best thing about Lex Luthor's suit is that, like, there's never, like, a visor or a helmet on his suits because he wants Superman to know it's him beating him up. He wants to look Superman in the fucking eyes as he beats him half to death. With his big, meaty robo fist. And finally, Lucas, we have here LexCorp / Luthor Corp. And I prefer it when it's called LexCorp. Luthor Corp can fuck off. That's from, like, the DC, extended universe. No, it's LexCorp.
I prefer LexCorp. It's just a way better sounding name.
It sounds cool, right? Just the idea as well that Lex Luthor is that much of an egomaniac, everything's named after him. So, LexCorp is the fictional organised crime company owned by Luthor. Do you think it's like listed as that on the stock exchange? Just crime company? LexCorp was originally organised as an aerospace engineering firm started in the top floor offices of the Daily Planet building in Metropolis, and has since become one of the world's largest and most diversified multinational conglomerates. And it did for a while own the Daily Planet. And it's actually kind of weird because we made a joke earlier that Lex Luthor kind of looks like Jeff Bezos, and Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Times. Lex Luthor bought the Daily Planet because Lois Lane kept writing critical stories of him. And what Lex Luthor did is he turned it into like a BuzzFeed style website and made Superman and Lois Lane write clickbait articles. And I was thinking, Jeff Bezos hasn't done that yet, but I won't be surprised. I've not seen many Washington Times articles criticising Amazon or him.
No, and like, obviously there's also things like the Murdoch family, right, where just they own so much media and newspaper and stuff like. Yeah, it's depressing that there's just certain people in the world that can just pay to not have shit put out about them.
Yeah, and that's one of the things like Lex Luthor did. And you might think, well, that sounds ridiculous. That's like a stupid story from a comic book. It's like, no, billionaires doing that shit all the time. And if you've never heard about it, that's because they're doing their fucking job, right? The people they pay to not have their name appear in papers are doing their job. The company grew by acquisition, starting with a struggling airline, Intercontinental Airlines and Atlantic Coast Air Systems, which were renamed to Lex Air. You might notice a trend here, Lucas. When rising profits were threatened by fuel shortages, LexCorp bought out Southwestern Petroleum and renamed it Lex Oil. This pattern of acquisitions continued to include the Daily Planet and several Metropolis businesses before LexCorp sold the unprofitable Daily Planet and its building headquarters to Transnational Enterprises, establishing an L-shaped 96-story high-rise as its new headquarters. So he lives in a giant fucking L for Luthor. Well, isn't that his office is a giant fucking L? We're not done yet, Lucas. LexCorp grew rapidly into a diverse international conglomerate with interests in utilities, waste management, industrial manufacturing, computer hardware and software, chemicals, retail, bioengineering, weapons, pharmaceuticals, oil communications, airlines, real estate, hotels, restaurants, technology, media, financial services, robotics, security, transportation, satellite, stock brokerages, houses, cash businesses, and food.
Can I call you June? You can call me whatever you like. Take a bucket of piss and call it Granny's peach tea.
So Amazon. Right? It's Amazon. Oh, I won't be surprised if tomorrow, like, Amazon announced we're buying fucking, like, Raytheon or something like that and starting a weapons manufacturing division.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of shocking that they do pretty much everything else. They don't do weapons yet.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, like, via one of their, like, things that they invest in. It's like Berkshire Hathaway, right? Like, that's a big investment firm where they, like, own, like, 2% of virtually every company on Earth.
Did Jeff Bezos just read a lot of Superman comics and just look at Lex Luthor going, yeah, that looks good?
It's the joke someone made, isn't it? That, like, Amazon via Prime have, like, financed 2 piss takes of, like, comic book universes that establish that superheroes are bad. And that the evil, like, genius billionaires who run the companies that try to stop, they're actually the good guys. It's like, why does Jeff Bezos keep, like, via his company, funding the production of shows that show that Lex Luthor's the good guy? And Lucas, we could probably talk more about Lex Luthor, but that might mean I'd have to talk more about Kill the Justice League. So, for anyone out there who would like to continue this conversation or tell us their favourite Lex Luthor moment, you can do so by following the link to the Discord found below, or, go to our socials, which are also found linked below. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Hell yeah. And thank you to everyone that's watched till the end of the video. We would like to just use this opportunity to give a little shout out to everybody supporting on our highest tier over on our Patreon.
Yes, if you've watched any YouTube video by now, you know what the deal is. You give us money on Patreon, we shout your name out at the end of the video, regardless of how stupid it sounds. And Lucas, what's the first name we have to shout out today?
Well, the first name isn't stupid, Karl. It's quite awesome because it is Be of Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold your new god.
Be of Awesome.
Ahoy, hoy, lowly mortals.
Well, that's not a bad name, Lucas, but I counter it with Dan Daly, or one word. I feel like we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now, Lucas.
And I play my Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
Our Patreon has no pathetic supporters, but it does have Dan Daly!
No one's ever been able to call him.
Just mind crush.
And Karl, the next card that I'm going to play has actually requested a clip for you to put in this edit. So
okay.
I guess that's your job now, but they would like to dedicate this to the goal of adding a gaming channel to our repertoire. And that is from the lovely Michael Tatum.
Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very—
Shut up and take my money!
And that's the first person so far to request a specific clip, because a joke I like to do with our end of video shoutouts is just put a random clip in from a show or a movie with that person's name superimposed over it. And if people have a funnier clip or a specific clip they'd like us to put with their name superimposed over it, why not, right? I actually like that because I'm running out of clips to find, so that would be helpful.
Identify this Pokemon.
This is gonna be a breeze for me. It's a Voltorb.
And the answer is A.
Michael Tatum.
Seen from above.
And Karl, I guess another way that people can support us with their money is to just get us to read out silly names.
Yeah, so in that vein, and last but certainly not least, the final person we like to shout out is Woo Won King Day Willy Wonka. I'm now wondering, Lucas, what is the longest name you can have on Patreon? Because could somebody change their name to ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang? Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang.
I guess we'll see maybe next month. I don't know.
Because that's the clip I'm putting in for Woo Won King Day Willy Wonka. Woo Won 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 King Day Won Won Willy Wonka. Ooh-ah. That's going in.
Oh my god.
Hey, witch doctor, give us the magic words.
Woo Won 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 King Day Won Won Willy Wonka.
Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang. Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bang-bang.
Thank you, of course, to everyone for supporting us over on our Patreon, and thank you also just for watching.
Yeah, it's very much appreciated, and we'll see you all next time.